Hi friends, my name is Melissa Mortensen from polkadotchair.com, and today I want to show you how to make a cat quilt block. My lovely assistant in the back making himself very comfortable. His name is Kingsley, and you will probably see him in here most days when I'm filming from this direction. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you have been here for a while, you may notice we have a little bit different of a setup. I thought I would try and kind of film in front of my island. I'm in my sewing room. You can tell my computer's over there where I work, and my sewing table, where usually you guys see me with the windows behind, is over here on the right. So just thought, try something different, you know, why not? But today what I want to do is I want to show you guys how to make a cat quilt block. I'll hold that up there. This cat quilt block is part of my Cat Dash Quilt Pattern, which is the newest quilt pattern in our shop. It's also our featured project drop for April. If you are interested in the shop, you can purchase a kit that comes with all of your fabric and your pre-cut roll, and then like a fun little sticker and your pattern to make your quilt. If you don't want to buy a project kit, totally fine. You can buy the pattern separately, and I want to walk you through how to make the cat quilt block. It's very simple to construct, but there's a couple little tricks that I have that I want to share with you so that if you see the nose, so that you can get the nose on that block nice and crisp at the edges. So I'm going to share with you that tip that I have how to do that and walk you through the construction steps. So I'm going to switch places and move over to my sewing machine and desk over there and start walking you through the process of making this block. Hey friends, let's walk you through the steps to make one of these cat blocks from this Cat Dash Quilt Pattern, which is our April drop of the month. If you are interested in kits, we do have a few left in the pink and black and the aqua colorways. I'll link those here, as I mentioned before. But what I want to do is just show you really quickly how to make this cat quilt block. It is a very simple block to construct, and I have a little tip that I will share with you to get a nice clean point on the nose. I have cut out all of the pieces for my block. The only difference between my block and the one in the quilt is that I've chosen for this particular cat to make the nose section out of the black fabric instead of the lighter pink. There's plenty of fabric in the kit, so if you choose to kind of mix and match the cat faces and noses, you totally can do that. I just gave you an example on the pattern so that for those of you that just prefer just show me what to do, then you can see exactly what to do. So I have my pieces cut out. All of the measurements are included in the pattern. I've got my nose pieces, and I've got the pieces of my cat face here, and just following the directions as noted in the pattern, we're just going to start with step one by making the part of the cat block that includes the ears. So I like to use a method that is, everyone calls it something different, stitch and flip or snowballing corners. What we're going to do is we are going to sew on the diagonal here and then flip the fabric up. So one thing to note, because you'll notice I'm working with directional fabric, I want the cats to go up and down. So naturally you would think we would want to start by sewing with the cats going that direction, but no. What we want to do is we want to rotate the cat 90 degrees. And then what you can do really quickly is fold it down and make sure it's going the direction you want. So since I know that's the direction that I want that cat to go, and it looks like an ear when I'm done, I'm going to take a moment and draw my diagonal line on the back of one of those square pieces to get ready to piece that block. And again, we'll just double check, make sure that looks like a cat ear before we get sewing. And then we need to do the same thing with the other piece on the other side. And once again, it's going to go that direction, so that looks like a cat ear. And draw the diagonal line. Okay, So we are ready to sew. So before we're going to sew, I'm going to more precisely make sure I've got this lined up. When you're working with pre-cut fabric, some people don't like that, they feel like they don't know where the edge of the fabric is, but you're going to want to work from the outside, like the largest part. So you're going to work from point to point. We're just going to line those two pieces up on there, and just so that things don't move around as I'm sewing. Normally I wouldn't pin this, but I also don't want to get mixed up with what direction everything's going when I move to my machine. I'll put a pin in that one, and then I'll go over to my machine and sew directly on that line that I just stitched. Excuse me. So I'm going to sew directly on the drawn line. Now that those are sewn, we're ready to press and trim. You can trim first or press first, but I prefer to press first because I like to double check that my fabric is in the correct spot. And the best way to do that, I think, is to press it the way it's going to look before I trim it. So I will press it that way, and then I come and I look on the back, and you'll notice here on this side, the little bit of that pink fabric is hanging over the edge of that white piece. And the thing with stitch and flip is your fabric piece should always be the same size when you finish as when you start. So that's going to make that a little too big. So before I trim it, I'm going to just come in and trim that up nicely there on the edge. The other one is off a hair, but not enough that I'm worried about. Then we'll come in and unfold that fabric and trim 1/4 inch on the outside of that stitching line. All right, so we've got our ears done for our cat. We'll just set those aside. We're ready to move on to the face. Now, one thing to note when you sew the face portion of the cat is that you're dealing with a left and a right side, and that your seams are going to be going different directions. So the first thing I like to do is mark the diagonal line on my pieces first. And if you're wondering why I'm working with pre-cut strips, it's because the pattern, all of the background fabric of the pattern is made with one pre-cut roly-poly or jelly roll fabric. So it saves you a ton of time with cutting. But that's why some of those pieces have pinked edges. So I've drawn a diagonal line on the back of both those pieces, and I think I realize might have made a mistake. I'm going to pull that line off because we also want the fabric on the nose going the right direction. So we'll do the same trick we did before. Rotate this so it's at a 90-degree angle, which is what I should have done in the first place, and then draw my diagonal line. All right, so there is the left side of the cat face. And then the fabric's upside down. All right, and there is the right side of the cat face. All right, now my diagonal lines are drawn, and there is a diagram in the pattern. So make sure you follow the diagram in the pattern to make sure you've got all of your diagonals going the right direction so it looks like a cat face when you're done. So on each piece, I'm going to add that square to snowball those corners, and I'm going to do the same as I did with the ears. Is I'm going to go over to my machine and sew right directly on those drawn lines and then trim them. Now that those pieces are sewn, I'm going to do the same thing. And then check them on the back. And I can tell that, yes, I definitely need to trim some of this portion. That's off by quite a bit. Actually, I probably technically should go in and remove that seam and move it, but I think I can make that work, so I'm going to leave it. All right, this one definitely seems like the white needs to get trimmed up a little bit there. All right, now that I'm happy with that, we'll come in and trim these seam allowances. Let's get all these extra pieces out of the way. So we're going to sew these two pieces together, and we want that seam to nest in nicely. So on the right side, I'm going to come over here to my iron, and I am going to actually change the direction that the seam is going. So if you look at it from the back, you can see that the seam direction on the right side of the cat face is going towards the pink fabric, and it's going towards the black fabric on the left side. So what that will allow me to do is, as I sew the right and left sections of that cat face together, I can nest those seams, and it's going to help me get a really nice crisp point on the end of that nose. So now I need to just take this to my machine and sew that in place with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now that that is sewn, we just need to press it. And I prefer to press my seams to one side. You definitely could press the seam open if you feel like you needed to. And we are ready to sew our cat together. Very simple. I feel like you guys can kind of see how this is going to come together. We'll sew these two pieces to this center large piece to end up with our cat quilt block. That block is now sewn, and hopefully you guys can see how quick and easy it is to construct these cat head blocks for this quilt. Just give it a good pressing. I prefer actually when I'm pressing larger blocks and seams like this to do it at my larger iron and my full ironing board. I just think that you get a lot better results because you don't have to move the iron around as much since you have a bigger pressing surface. But needs to be trimmed and given a good press. But there you can see we have a cat quilt block. The block is 9.5 inches by 9.5 inches before finishing, which makes it a 9-inch quilt block. If you are interested in making a whole quilt with the cat quilt blocks like this, you can find the pattern in our shop at shop.polkadotchair.com. And as I mentioned before, we do have a few kits left if you are interested in picking up a kit. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you guys.